So, new streaming to Hulu is a remake of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, directed by Michelle Garza-Cervera and starring Micah Monroe and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Full disclosure, I have never seen the original film. I have no idea what it's about. I've just heard of it. I don't know if it's copying that movie scene for scene. I've just heard of it as an effective little thriller horror film. Comment down below, let me know what you think of the original. But what I will say is after watching this film, this movie rocked me to sleep. In the film, you have an upscale suburban mom who hires a nanny named Polly into their home to watch their children, but she goes on to find out she is not who she says she is. Getting straight to the point, I found this movie to be unbearably generic. You know, we've had that movie concept so many times before. You have an outsider, they come into somebody's home, they're invited in, they befriend the family, they're kind of a Trojan horse mole from the inside out, they're causing chaos. We've seen that done 10,000 times before, but this could very well be the most generic version of all of them. Again, I have not seen the original, so I don't know how accurate this is to the source material of that. I don't know if they're taking liberties here. I don't know if this story has been adapted in different ways, but what we get in this movie is just a Mad Libs generator. It feels like this movie was written by AI. This movie commits a lot of crimes, but the most important one being this movie has atrocious characters. There is not a single character in this movie that feels either believable or a character that you care at all what happens to them. They are all equally unlikable, all equally stupid, which is kind of a problem because very early on you figure out who's in the right, who's in the wrong, why people are doing this, and by the end of the movie you kind of don't care. It kind of goes against all of your better judgment. You just want something to happen. You have Polly, played by Micah Monroe, who's invited into this family's house to act as a nanny, and for the most part, she's well acted for what she's given. I mean, this is like a ChatGPT script, as I said. You can't do a whole lot with it. And I'm not sure if it was the writing of this movie or the way that it was overacted by her, but this character, from the very first scene, you notice that you know something is clearly wrong, and nobody else seems to care. She shows up, she seems like a good enough person in spurts, but every once in a while, she will say something that is completely out of the blue. She'll say something that's an immediate red flag, and the whole cast just ignores it. And the same can be said about Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character as the mother of this family. She's playing this very type A mom with this kind of controlling attitude, obsessive compulsive to a degree, really strict about the way her family's being raised, what her kids eat, all of that. Very over the top controlling. And in a vacuum, I don't mind that type of character. I think you can go different ways with it. But the problem being she is painted in one way, and her reaction to all of these occurrences and all of these blatantly obvious red flags is non-existent. So you can't have both of them. You can't have type A personality who is hyper controlling and not care about anything that is glaringly red flag going on in your family, all of the damage being done. She just doesn't care. She overlooks all of it. So both of the lead characters in this movie that have to piggyback off of one another are completely ironic in the way that they are both represented in the film and the way they act out later on based on how they were written earlier in the film. Whenever a movie tries to do this, where you take a strange outsider and bring them into a new family, you have to be subtle about it because us, the audience members, we know what's going on. But the characters in the movie do not know what's going on. So you have to make it believable enough that they wouldn't react to what's going on. In this movie, it's abundantly clear what's going on. There are so many red flags. This is the most over-involved babysitter ever that just doesn't even need to be hired. This babysitter's around the house 24/7, even when the parents are home. They're doing hospital visits. They're inviting friends over. They're fucking on the property. The parents are aware of it. Nobody seemingly cares. This character's just doing whatever they want. Again, no red flags taken issue with. I mean, there are a couple of scenes in this film, the dialogue and what they're trying to do in terms of build suspense and investment in the story. As it's going on, characters are talking. Something's supposed to be incredibly serious what they're talking about. I straight up laughed out loud because how obviously forced it is for what they're trying to push along in the story, and the dialogue choices and the way characters are reacting, beyond unbelievable. It was comical, like how off tonally this movie was at points. That is because this movie suffers from a case of lazy ass setup and generic ass dialogue. Every possible trope you could possibly imagine when it comes to establishing tension in this film is utilized, and from the moment you get the details, you know exactly where it's going. It's established early on that the mother of this household used to date women. Where do you think that's going to go? It's also established pretty early in the film that the couple of this movie's having marital problems. They're not having sex. Where do you think that's going to go? When you have a babysitter walking around flirting with everybody, you kind of can see where it's coming from a mile away. Again, for some may be effective. For me, lifetime as fuck. And as some may say, let's be honest, if you're going to go that route, go that route, but the movie doesn't even go that route. It just teases you with what you think this movie is going to be in the most generic ways possible from beginning to end. The majority of scenes play out something like this. I'm actually going to use a specific example from this film. So they go to this fireworks show, and for some reason, the nanny gives this like 7-year-old daughter, I believe, fireworks. She comes home, she lights the fireworks on fire, almost blows her hands off, and the parents start freaking out. But the dad in this family is the biggest pushover ever, so apparently this guy doesn't stand up or say anything. Pretty much the biggest pussy ever, but every single scene plays out something like this. Miguel, I just found out she's a serial murderer. We need to... No, honey, no, I cannot listen to this right now. Like she's explaining to you that you have somebody in your house that does not belong there. You have young children and you do not care at all? You don't listen to them at all? Absolutely unbelievable, ridiculously stupid character. Oh yeah, terrible dialogue. One more line. In relation to those fireworks I talked about earlier, which feels like a pretty legitimate threat if I had a family, I'd probably speak up, say something about that. You have the dad of this family, he's arguing with his wife about this situation. They're disagreeing about whether or not it was intentful or just an accident. The wife says that the nanny should not have given this young girl fireworks. Then the dad says possibly the worst line of the year. Oh, so you think because I'm Mexican I like fireworks? What? Like, then when you do get to the end of this film and you get the major reveal of what's going on, who this girl is, what her aspirations are, why she's doing this, you know, you could possibly explain it away with the generic trope of trauma and all of these things that raised us to be who we are. Kind of doesn't explain to some essence why she's going the route she is and targeting some of the people she is. But when you do get the answer of what's going on, I will say I didn't predict it for better and worse. That kind of tells you where I think it came from. But I do think the reveal was actually better than I was anticipating. I thought I had my thumb all over the pulse of this movie, and it kind of shocked me to that degree only. Everything else, incredibly predictable. For one final time, I have not seen the original movie, so I have no comparison, but I think this is another example of what I think the majority of people are probably going to find to be an incredibly generic, pointless remake. I'm sort of tempted to check out the original and see if it's better than this, or maybe the original is just dated and it was not any good either. I don't know, but I found this movie to be insufferably generic for a lot of it, and for me it was just background noise. So if you guys do manage to check this one out, it's brand new to Hulu today. Come back, comment down below, let me know what you think, or let me know what you think of the original Hand That Rocks the Cradle. As always, like, comment, subscribe, join the channel down below. I do it all here, new releases, horror movies, video recommendations, all of it. I'll see you in the next review. Peace!